Alright, so one of these spices that you are going to see in your, kitchen witch arsenal, especially this time of year and alongside classics like cinnamon, is going to be clove. Clove is one of those spices that everyone knows it as soon as they taste it, and if there's like a pinch too much, it is all over. It's done. The dish is ruined when you put too much of things like clove and nutmeg because they are very powerful spices. But like its very common counterpart cinnamon, cloves do come from Southeast Asia. Specifically, they come from India and Indonesia, and they're actually the like little flower buds that haven't opened yet. So kind of like how broccoli, you're actually eating the flowers of the plant, like all those little buds are unopened flowers. Likewise, the cloves are actually unopened flower buds that are harvested just before they pop open, and they have this really, pungent, spicy smell and a lot of really warming qualities to them. So, like ginger, like cinnamon, they really they heat you up. It wasn't until about the Middle Ages in Europe that they started really getting used in all kinds of baked goods. But as you can see, it's been several centuries since Europe got their hands on these, and in that time they have become a staple spice for all of our holiday cookies, gingerbread, all that kind of stuff. And now the history of clove is such that people have been using it for a very long time, and I'm talking like from 200 BC and probably beyond for things like, perfuming the breath and dealing with toothaches and all these other kinds of things. They are also really good at banishing, and the word for clove actually comes from the Latin word for nail, as it was really, really common to kind of say like nails in the eyes to get rid of things like evil eye. Cloves were very important for deflecting all of this evil back at people. If they were sending you any bad vibes, cloves would send it right back and just kind of scatter it off of you. So they are a really good exercising tool. In fact, according to Anna Franklin in her book, A Hearth Witch's Kitchen Herbal, she actually mentions how Jewish people in the Iberian Peninsula would similarly use cloves to protect their children, especially their daughters, from the evil eye. She says here on page 84 that amongst the Jews of the Iberian Peninsula, cloves were waved over the head of the affected with the words, "I recite this formula, I recite the ritual formula to my daughter. She does not cause harm, nor should harm be done to her. With these cloves may she find the remedy." After which the cloves were burned in hot coals, and when they exploded, it was imagined that the eyes of whoever cast the evil eye would explode with them. At the same time, cloves do also bring prosperity, so a really good prosperity spell is actually to stick a bunch of cloves into an orange. This combination, I think, not only drives things like bugs away, so it is also an exercising tool, but it also attracts wealth to you. So it's a really good push bad away, bring good in kind of spell, and it's really simple. You just take those little cloves and you blink, 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 just like thumbtacks into that orange. Easy, low maintenance, very quick. And you don't really have to actually get in the kitchen and cook anything. Those kinds of spells tend to be ones that are good for those quick moments. Now, one book that I have that I don't talk about often, but is really interesting, is Paul Barrel's The Master Book of Herbalism. And please keep in mind that you should never be using any herbal remedies in place of actual doctors' medicine. These herbal remedies are things for when you don't want to make the trip all the way to the doctor for a sniffle, because that's annoying. This is where herbal medicine really shines, in my opinion, because if it's something mild and not that big a deal, you could just grab honey, sage, and some clove and help yourself get through maybe a little bit of a stuffy nose or something like that. Because clove is an expectorant, which means it breaks up phlegm and mucus. So if you make a little bit of, tea or something, you got honey in it, you got sage in it, you got cinnamon or clove, there you go. It's also antiseptic, so if you have any kinds of, breakouts or anything like that, Anna Franklin does suggest that you mix a little bit of ground clove and honey and just put it on the spot for 15 minutes and then wash it off. It's, a good way to just do something for yourself without having to buy all of these expensive, creams and formulas and all that stuff too. This is also why herbal medicine is really nice, because chances are you can have a whole skincare routine based on stuff that you're already buying from the grocery store. I mean, and with things like this, the remedies you might make are as simple as putting 3 cloves and a little bit of cinnamon into a hot cup of water, letting it steep, and now you've got cinnamon and clove tea. So things like that are extremely, extremely helpful. You know, whenever you kind of have like a sore throat or something like that, throw some honey in there. And if you want to put some magic into it, you can absolutely put that exorcising quality as well. You know, exorcising sickness away, exorcising bad things away. It works physically as much as it does metaphysically, which is kind of the point of a lot of these things. You'll notice that a lot of times the things, what they do physically, like we were talking about before in, I believe, our food is medicine episode, what they do physically, they also do metaphysically. So again, for example, garlic and intestinal parasites. Yeah, garlic's a pretty exercising tool in magic, and also physically, it just destroys anything. You eat a whole bulb of garlic and there's no coming back from that for anything in there. But obviously, again, culinarily, this time of year is a great time to bring up clove because it's what we're using in a lot of our holiday baking. If you remember my episode on Medenjaki, or you know, Slovenian honey spice cookies, those show up very prominently in there along with cinnamon and nutmeg. And obviously they make a standard component to most kind of gingerbread men, gingerbread houses. That's also what gives it that deep brown color. Things like cinnamon and clove and all them, when they actually hydrate into whatever batter you have, they give it that really deep, rich brown color. That Medenjaki episode is also a great way to kind of take that concept of orange and clove that I was just talking about and put it in a baked dish. Medenjaki is using orange zest as well as clove in its whole operation, as well as honey and cinnamon and all the other kind of stuff. So it's great not only for exercising bad things out, but bringing good things in the form of a delicious biscuit with tea or coffee. And another good place that things like clove come up are also in your mulled drinks. So the apple cider we had that one time, things like mulled wine. This is where you throw in all kinds of stuff like the cinnamon sticks and the clove and, you know, the star anise. And it makes this really just warm and cozy flavor that we all know this time of year. And actually, Anna Franklin has a recipe for abundance incense in here too, which is half part crushed cloves, half part cinnamon bark, a fourth part nutmeg powder, fourth part dried basil, a few drops of cinnamon essential oil, optional, and 2 parts of frankincense, also optional. Blend at the waxing moon and burn on charcoal. It's really, you know, a well-used spice, and it's in tandem with everything you've already got in your kitchen. But as I was saying before, culinarily, cloves are very intense, and so you don't want to use too much of them. If you use too much, it just ruins the flavor of whatever you're eating. When I use about a tablespoon of cinnamon, I'm using like maybe a quarter of a teaspoon of clove, because it's a hard-hitting spice. It really is. But that potency does really well, not only for physical, you know, ailments that you might grab some herbal medicine for, but also for any magical things. A little goes a long way, as Anna Franklin says. You don't need to do crazy amounts with it. You just literally a little pinch, and you are on your way to a lot of magic already. But as you continue going through all of your holiday baking this year, I hope you guys have a great time, not only, you know, making all your goodies for the holiday season, but also activating all of those really hardcore magical qualities to them. This time of year is where all of the warming spices come out and where all of the really big, loud Mars, Jupiter, fire energy is out to play. It's Sagittarius season. We've got all these spices here to warm us up in these cold, cold days. It's time to party, believe it or not. With all that said, I'll see you guys next week for that sangria recipe I promised, and we're definitely going to get a little more into all of this fun kitchen stuff as the year comes to an end. So I'll see you around.
By the way, if you want to see these videos 2 weeks earlier, consider subscribing to my Patreon, where you not only get all these videos, but also recipe cards, specific deity profiles, and lots of other interesting things to look at. Video tiers start at $10 a month, so definitely consider checking it out.